Hey, thank you for watching Power to the Pod, where we're committed to an intellectual integrity and a moral honesty. I'm your host, Superior, and once again, thank you for watching. Now, in this video, we're here to watch a debate between one of my favorites. I've been watching Mr. Sam Seder for at least 7 years solid. You know what I'm saying? Just about every single day, especially when I was doing construction, I would listen to his podcast on YouTube, 2-3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Just about, Monday through Friday. He is having a debate with Mr. Valuetainment, one of those, suit and ties that, they make a lot of money. Well, I'm assuming he does. And so therefore he has some sort of insight on everything. And, because he has a successful business or whatever brand, he feels that, he can just be right on just about any political subject. So he's having a conversation with one of the greats. So let's go ahead and watch this video and let's have that conversation.
And now you're looking at the economy. It looked like everything was good, but a big part of it was fake, Sam. We had a lot of fake success the last few years.
Well, I mean, look, I'm just measuring on, again, the way I view things is what's going to make things better for the most amount of people. And in terms of it being in favor of the capitalists, I would also change our tax policy. So, I mean, I would claw some of that back, quite a bit of it back.
What would you do?
I would return to the tax policy when we had the greatest, sort of the widest economic expansion shared by more people as a percentage of our population than any other time in this country, which was in the 50s and the 60s. And I would return to the tax rates more or less there. So your top tax rate at that time was 90%, top marginal rate, for every dollar over $470,000 you would earn. So that would be equivalent to around $3 million today. I think we should return to that type of tax.
Damn, 90%.
To go as high as 90% at the top marginal tax
at the top marginal tax rate. So understand, that only kicks in with every dollar above $3 million.
I hear you.
Okay, so it's funny how he says, I hear you, but I kind of briefly scammed, went through this video before, and it seems like they don't hear him when he says every dollar after $3 million, that dollar after $3,001 will be taxed 90%. It seems like that's a reoccurring misunderstanding on their part. So let's just go ahead, nip that in the bud. That's what he means. He's not meaning every single dollar that you're making is going to be taxed 90%. That's crazy. So let's continue.
And yeah, I mean, that's the famous Reagan situation where I think it was anything over $200,000 at that point. This might have been in the 40s, that he would only do 2 movies a year because you get paid $100,000 per movie, and then he wouldn't even do a third movie because he would only get 10% of the revenue because he's like, fuck it, I'm not doing another movie.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that curb growth?
When Reagan started telling that story, you know who he was working for when he started telling that story, right? He was going around, I think it was working for GE, trying to convince people not to get Medicare for all. I mean, if Reagan could have gotten 3 movies, 5 movies, he would have done it. He was working with chimps. He would have been happy to do that for his career. Believe me. Believe me.
What's the top marginal tax rate right now? 39%? What is it?
I think it's 37, 39%.
So you're in favor.
I will say this, though, just to finish up that Reagan story. I will say this to you. I remember being in L.A., and taxes, top line had hit whatever the all-in was, 57.5. I don't know what the number was, around 57.5. You live in Brooklyn. So 57.5%. People are like, what the hell is going on here? There was this girl who was a top realtor in the San Fernando Valley area, one of the top realtors. Her picture was on all the benches. Everywhere you would go, you would see her. And she was one of the realtors making very good money. She's making $500,000 a year income, doing good for herself, whatever the number was, $500,000. One day, I stopped seeing her pictures on the seats, and I'm at Wood Ranch with my wife, and I said, "Hey, you're the girl, right?" She says, "Yeah, I am." She's with her husband and her 2 kids.
You're the girl, right?
I said, "What happened? We haven't seen you lately." She says, "It's so funny you ask. My husband and I made a decision that the moment taxes got so high, it was more important for me to be stay home. It wasn't worth me working to pay this much in taxes. So there's a part of what he's saying. Yeah, whatever, whether he's going to do the movies
I think
with
that's
chimps
great.
and all
No,
that
I
stuff.
guess-
But there's a part of it that kind of
I guess my
incentive
point
needs
is-
to be there.
America would not have suffered by the lack of Ronald Reagan movies. And I would
Okay, you're
also
trying to be
argue,
funny.
I would
I
also,
got you.
but I would
Yeah.
also argue that, like, I guarantee you there was no less houses that sold because that one particular broker stopped selling houses at a certain point.
And that seems to be a common talking point when you're speaking to a lot of these people, especially like I may kind of understand what the other guy is kind of, the position he's taking, his perspective, because I'm assuming, once again, I don't know his bank account, but I'm assuming he makes a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? But what just blows my mind is people who are making less than me is always arguing and defending rich people to only get richer and to keep most of their money. Like, it just blows my mind. And it's like the realtor, his one example, nobody is going to be like in a frantic, just, discombobulated because, oh no, she's staying at home in her, $1 million home, and like she's staying with her kids and she can't sell houses. Like, no one cares. If she feels that she's in a position to where she doesn't have to work anymore because she may, sold a house, so therefore she doesn't have to do any work because she feels that she doesn't want to pay more taxes, who cares? I honestly don't care. And I don't understand why a lot of poor people continue to fight and defend rich people. I mean, maybe because they think maybe in their wildest dreams they're going to become rich, so they're kind of like defending their future position in a sense. So I don't know, it's just weird to me.
So go to it. So right now,
I don't think that's a problem. I really don't. I mean, I think
to raise it to 90%.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I think
Top line,
what
3
you're
million
talking
plus.
about is sort of the Laffer curve, actually, right?
Yeah.
You know the
You
Laffer.
love the Laffer curve. You're
Well,
a big fan of it, apparently.
I'll tell you what I love about the Laffer curve is that we had a perfect example of, we had almost like a perfect model of what happens with the Laffer curve, right? Like the Laffer curve argues that the higher the tax rate goes, the less inclined people are going to be to generate income. And then because they're generating less money, there's going to be less tax receipts collected by the government. Art Laffer was Sam Brownback's #1 advisor in Kansas. Do you remember this when Brownback became governor? He basically gave over his entire tax structure to Art Laffer. They had it destroyed the tax base in Kansas. It ended up destroying their entire education system. They had an amazing Kansas university. Brownback gets plucked out of Kansas and literally sent to be ambassador to Ether. You know what? They made him ambassador to faith because they didn't want this guy around at all. The Republican-controlled Kansas legislature raised taxes back up because it had destroyed their tax receipts. The theory may sound good, but it doesn't work in practice.
So are you on YouTube and Rumble or just YouTube?
I'm on YouTube. I think we put it on Rumble. I think we're also on Twitch. And all
over the place. Okay, so let me ask you this question. If YouTube took their AdSense from 55 to 15, would you continue creating content?
Yeah.
You sure?
Sure.
You'd continue creating content?
I wasn't doing YouTube for a long time.
How do you make a living today?
I have membership. That people
that's a little weird.
pay. I get ad revenue from different places.
Okay, so let's just say the membership that you get from Patreon or whoever it is, okay? What if their fees went from them keeping 5% to 60% to 90%? Would you continue creating content?
I mean, I would probably have to cut back if there was that.
Exactly.
Well, but that's only because it's such a big change.
No, that's the part about incentive, Sam. So your audience gets to enjoy you.
I'm not saying we'll cut the revenue for these businesses. I'm saying that the amount of
you
money.
have no choice though because you're paying these guys. You need the revenue.
So it just seems a little weird. Like I don't understand his example compared to what they're actually talking about. If the example was to be correct, it'd be, Sam, if you're making, X amount of dollars, and then all of a sudden you're making over $3 million, would you feel comfortable paying taxes? Oh boy, he's saying that if YouTube decided to take out of your lump sum 70, 80, 90%, would you still create content? Those are two totally different conversations, because YouTube is taking that money for themselves. We're talking about the government taking taxes from us and then, doing what government is supposed to do. Now, are they doing the right thing? Of course not. But that's kind of at least the where I feel Sam is trying to go. But oh boy, right here, he doesn't understand his own question, or at least what Sam is trying to explain here. Like, I don't know, it's just weird.
No. I'm not suggesting we cut revenue for businesses. What I am suggesting is after that revenue comes in and we divvy up and I have my net profits, then my taxes would go up. But I will say this, like, if, let's say, the taxes went up on me personally, would I stop going on YouTube? No.
There you go.
So would you be able to scale it at how many employees you got working for you right now?
I'm not talking about cutting revenue.
I get that. How many employees are you working for you
He doesn't care.
We have payroll, I think, like 6 or 7.
Okay, you got 6 or that's a small business you got there, right?
Sure.
6 or 7 people. Okay. If all of a sudden AdSense went up, the fees for your Patreon, I don't want to offend you when I say Patreon. I don't know who you use. Whoever you use that's got your membership stuff that you got.
We use Fans FM.
Okay, there you go. That's a shout out to them. So Fans FM,
Right
Fans FM,
Fans.fm. It's actually a great
Fans.fm.
service.
Okay, fantastic. So if they raise it,
Less than Patreon.
if they take 50% all of a sudden, and they say YouTube says AdSense goes to 15%, would you be able to employ those 6 people?
No, if my well, I don't know, but probably
Maybe that's because you're rich.
No, probably not. But I'm not suggesting that we cut revenue for businesses. I'm suggesting that what is left over from revenue, if it's over $3 million, that goes into the pocket of the owner of this enterprise.
There you go. Why?
That $300 million and $1 gets taxed.
Let's have fun with it.
So why is that so hard for him to understand? Why is that so hard for him to understand? It's like when these suits and ties all of a sudden start hearing about raising taxes, it's like their ear hole closes and their face hole just starts just talking way too much. And it's like, bro, listen to what he is saying. You're talking about something totally different. That's a whole different conversation. And he probably still wouldn't like that either. But we're talking about as an individual, when you reach that much money, when you reach $3 million, that next dollar is going to be taxed. That's the conversation.
Makes sense.
Let's have fun with this. So here's a question for you. And I kind of know what your answer is.
And I want to be clear on something.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I subscribe to this not because I think that we need the money or that this is going to, be a panacea in terms of like how we would spend this money.
Yeah.
But I see in this country a massive problem with wealth inequality and the commensurate political inequality that comes with it. We have wealth inequality in this country like we've never had before.
I don't disagree. So there's not a disagreement there. But the solution is where we're going to disagree. So let's kind of process that together. Okay. So the whole thing, like I remember when I first got out of the military and I went into the financial industry, it's 1999. I know nothing. It's 2000. I know nothing about it. The speaker gets up. Wow, have you been noticing that the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poor? I'm like, okay, my dad's at a cashier at a 99-cent store 15 years. My parents got divorced twice.
I hope you said to that guy, you ain't seen nothing yet. Yeah. Wait to 20 years
but you're
from now.
Right,
it's going to be completely out of control.
But you're right, though. But why is the question? So here's a question for you. So you're saying above $3 million, that money that the owner's going to keep, we got to tax them 90%. Fine. Okay. So you believe the money, like when I was in the military, you would buy a product for the Humvees.
Damn, man.
And they would say,
on.
we pay $600 for this piece. We're like, dude, this piece is $40.
Right.
Why the hell are we paying $600 for? Well, the contracts. You know how they are, man. The government always pays a lot because they're dumb. They always pay more than it's usually worth.
Okay.
A $40 piece for a Hummer, they're paying $600. I'm like, that's an awesome business for the other guy.
Yeah, we have horrible oversight in the military.
But this is the point, though. This is the point. And I want to actually sincerely get your thoughts on this, on how we address this. So if somebody overpays for a product, that person's either got to be fired or they're an overspender or a terrible negotiator. But it's one of the three, right? Okay. So you feel money going to the government we do more good with, or money staying in the free market for people to produce more value? Where do you feel values produce more?
Okay, so what Sam is about to do is he's about to get in, and I wish they would just answer the question, because it just feels like they just kind of dread on without answering the question. My quick answer would be the government. Simple. If I had to, either put my hopes and dreams of a society, being less poverty stricken and the wealth equality starts to balance out, who would I put my faith into? The government or business owners? Well, technically neither. You know what I'm saying? But if I have to choose one of the two, it would be government. So let's go ahead and hear what Mr. Sam has to say, and then I'll kind of elaborate as we watch.
Well, I'm not. I'm not sure I fully get what you're saying, but let me put it in this way.
It's a very simple
Okay.
question.
Well,
I want it to be clear.
Let me make it a little bit more concrete.
Yeah.
So you guys know that the biggest part of the budget, more or less, is Social Security and Medicare, right?
And Medicaid, yeah.
And Medicaid.
Entitlement programs.
Yeah, you can call them entitlement programs.
They are,
I call them social insurance programs, because
Tomato.
that's what they really are.
That's 90% of the budget, I want to say.
No, the military is about $850 billion. Social Security is like $1.7 trillion. I think Medicare is probably close to like $700 billion.
It's about 60%.
And then there's other. But
more.
It's a high number. It's a big number. You're right. It's a high number.
You'll find that it's. I think our annual budget is somewhere around like $2.7 trillion, and the military is like $800 billion, $900 billion. That you can see anyways, that they show us.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, Social Security, Medicare, the two biggest things that the government does are wildly popular. Mm-hmm. Medicare, you come from the insurance business, you probably know this. To administer health insurance, there's like 13-15% cost in the administration of that health insurance. For Medicare, 3%. Far more efficient. Far more efficient. And copays are less. I mean, and the whatever you want to call it, consumer satisfaction. I don't like to think of citizens as consumers, but the satisfaction's huge, through the roof, particularly when people use it. It's people appreciate it who don't use it. If I got my parents, they're on Medicare, I'm pretty psyched about it because I don't have to take care of them. My mother's in a nursing home now. It's Medicaid that's doing that. I'm not responsible for that cost. Social Security, through the roof. In fact, I think even a majority of Republicans want to expand Social Security.
Popular is not a way to qualify something. If I went out there and
satisfaction.
If I went to high school and I said, guys, I'm giving dime bags to everybody weed, I'd be a very
Let's hear that again.
Customer satisfaction.
Popular is not a way to qualify something. If I went out there and
popularizing something is not an efficient way. So why do we vote for candidates to represent us? We don't vote for them because they're cool looking, you know what I'm saying? Because they, grew up in a certain area. No, we vote for them because they they do a poor job of it, but they promise us things. They say, hey, once I'm elected, I'm going to do this, this, and this. That's literally how this works. That's how our political system works. Like, what is he? Is he like, I don't know, maybe he's really tunnelly visioning on something like really different, but it's like, hey, hello, hello, sir. That's pretty much how America is ran. You know what I'm saying? So it's just weird. Like, he just kind of like disregards it. And it's like, hey, that's literally what we do every 4 years when we're electing presidents, is because they tell us what they're going to give us, and we're assuming that they're going to keep their promise. So therefore, we cast our ballots for them because they promised to do things for us. That's how that works. Come on.
Your satisfaction.
If I went to high school and I said, guys, I'm giving dime bags to everybody weed, I'd be a very popular kind of high school. So
You would.
that is a wrong way to qualify.
Well, you said efficiency.
Yeah.
Medicare, 3%
Right.
administrative costs versus 15%.
That's like the kid that's running for class president who's like, every Friday we're throwing a pizza party.
And
Well,
I
if
will
He's going
vote
to get
for him.
everybody's vote.
If
but
you could
who's
provide-
paying for the pizza party? Sam?
Well, workers. In fact, I would argue that we should be actually removing the cap on Social Security taxes, because right now, you know, it goes only up to $160,000, right? There's a cap. Traditionally, Social Security has captured or touched 91% of the country's income. You follow me? And now it's somewhere down in like the mid 80s because of wealth
Yeah, but
inequality.
your argument on the flip side of it, the argument can be as well to say, well, at the beginning when they came out with Social Security, there was only a few thousand people in America that was actually using it. It was not meant to be for as big of a behemoth
Are
of
you
what it is
kidding?
today.
No,
It
that's
kept
true.
2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. It keeps 2/3 of our
didn't-
elderly.
nobody's
but that's
arguing the benefits of
that's not
Social
the argument.
Security.
But that's not the argument. The argument is originally
What is the
when
argument?
it came out, it wasn't for
Well,
the
they couldn't.
bigger percentage.
You had to wait. You had to wait until you build up the
you
funds.
didn't have to. You had to have capitalists work and overtax them to be able to fund it. That's what you had to do. But let me go back to
I
the
think
question.
what you are saying, just to validate your point, I think at that point, this is FDR back in the
yeah,
day.
we can pull up the data. That's
I think
not
there was
a,
40 workers for every retiree. I think now it's closer to like 3 workers.
Yeah, it's not
Yes, but
sustainable.
So it's not even
productivity-
close.
No, it is sustainable.
You think it's
No,
sustainable.
I don't
not
think it's sustainable.
The-
I'm looking at the Social Security Trust
letter,
Fund
when-
actuarial
with the
tables.
letter when they sent you this in the Social Security letter, they're telling you if we go this way, this is going to go bankrupt.
No,
in the letter,
no. You're misreading it. The trust fund is going to go bankrupt. In 1981, Greenspan and Reagan expanded the trust fund. We had a surge of baby boomers. There is a trust fund that exists that is essentially like a rainy day fund. That is going to be insolvent around 3033.
2033.
30-33.
No, sorry, 20,
10 years. You are correct. I
Yes,
just had this conversation this
yes.
past week.
However,
That's not a concern.
However,
that's not a concern.
However,
That's not a concern.
it is a concern. It will cause 20% in cuts to our
Right.
benefits.
Okay.
But that's it.
There's
Period.
always a
now, the way that
solution.
we can get rid of that 20% in cuts in the Social Security Trust Fund is to do what I'm suggesting. Remove the cap so that every dollar you make, even above $160,000,
Yeah,
is taxed by Social Security.
Sam-
And then your kids
Yeah.
will be long dead before that
Well,
trust
I'm
fund is out.
So, and I'm not going to pretend as if I know the ins and outs of Social Security and how that works. I did look at the document that Sam is talking about. I got maybe like a fraction of it understood. A lot of it was just like, okay, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But if there is a problem, there's always a solution. So I don't understand how he's just, once again, old boy's just like, well, you know, isn't that a problem? Isn't that a problem? It's like, it is a problem. Let's go ahead and solve it. And real simple is, since Social Security essentially helps anyone and everyone should at least partake into it in some sort of instance. You know what I'm saying? If you make, you know, X amount of dollars, you get taxed this much. It's not going to be anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with that. That's kind of how a democracy works. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know.
Well, if
Maybe
I
I'm
raise my
crazy.
kids right, my kids won't need to be supported
If
by
they
the
don't
government.
need to be,
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Hopefully, if I raise my kids right, my kids won't need to be supported
if
by
they
the
don't
government.
need to be,
Yeah.
if they don't
So-
need that social insurance,
Yeah.
look, I mean, how can you, as an insurance guy, how can you not understand this?
No, I
don't sit around saying like, you know, I hope that I don't need my fire insurance. I hope I don't. If your kids don't need Social Security,
Yeah.
old age insurance,
but
then you know what?
but I
we will
also-
tax the money
but
back.
I am better for
that's probably one of, and he worked in insurance, and that was his response. If I raise my kids right, they won't need Social Security. First off, for someone to even partake in insurance, and you for some reason can perceive the future, I don't know how old this kid is. Let's just assume maybe 20, 25, like what, 40 something years, 45 years, you're seeing into the future and saying, if I raise them right, from, infant to 18 years old, they're not going to, come on. That is the wackest, weakest rebuttal ever. If I just raise my kids right, they won't need help ever when they get older and 70, 80 years old. Like, come on. That was
society. Stupid. I am better for society if I find ways to get people off of needing any of this stuff than to rely on it more and more and more, because I'm truly hurting those who are creating commerce. That's who I'm hurting. But let me go back to my question.
Hold on, wait a minute. We had an experiment with this.
Wait a minute. Let me ask the question for you. Let me ask the question. You still haven't answered my question for me. No, wait.
401ks with a private solution.
You still haven't answered my question. Let me go back to the question to you. So, my question at the beginning, you have not yet answered. Okay. When you said, I would go back to the old tax system and I would take it to the 50s and 60s where we had a 90%. Okay. And I asked you a question. I said, who do you think produces more value? I gave the example of the Humvee, the pieces in the Army, how much we were paying, $600, but the piece was only $40. And the government tends to overspend because they're reckless spending. They're not really held accountable. Does money going in free market create more value, or money going to the government create more value for people?
Explain to me what you mean by value.
Okay, so value to me is, if I can give money to free market and lower taxes where they can go create more jobs, more opportunities, is that better for us long term, or is it better for us to raise taxes, to take away incentives and give that money, tax money, goes to politicians to make decisions what to do with the money? Are politicians better at making decisions on what to do with our money, or are we?
I guess in a broad way, I would say if we're going to look at the biggest chunk of money in the government to make this assessment, right? $1.7 trillion, Social Security. And we can compare it to the one sort of like comparable thing in the private sector, and that's a 401k. I would have to say, just based upon the way you've set up this question, that obviously the government, because Social Security has been the single most effective program that we have in this country. It has kept 2/3 of our senior citizens out of poverty as a social insurance program. 401ks have been a disaster. They've been a disaster. Just Google right there in front of you, the 401k experiment. People took the money out. And grant you, you can make an assessment that these individuals were stupid or immoral or whatever it is. I'm looking at the goal of keeping senior citizens out of poverty. The government has been able to do that far more effectively. 2/3 of our seniors are in nursing homes because the government is paying for it. You can look around at anything that doesn't involve a profit motive. Like, for instance,
that's the problem office. Right there.
If we didn't have a government-run post office, do you think you could live in, the most rural parts of the country and get postal service for 42 cents or 48 cents? You can send a letter? No way. What person looking to make a profit would do that? In fact, I've got a great example. This is, I was doing radio during Katrina, and there was a story that haunted me for years and years. When Bill Clinton, I'm not a huge fan of Bill Clinton's administration, frankly, but one of the things he did do well was to build up FEMA. I guess having come from Arkansas, he had a pretty good sense of what was important there. And Bush, when he came in very early on, privatized a ton of it. There was a story, it was a very small story, in New Orleans. The buses that were supposed to come to New Orleans to evacuate people before Katrina hit, there was a whole ton of buses that went through 3 different contractors, right? There was like a general contractor and then a subcontractor, and another subcontractor was going to bring the buses. They were from like 3 or 4 hours away. And maybe it was 6 hours. I can't remember the exact details. They were going to send the buses, but the guy whose job it was, who owns the bus company, and then the contractor above that, they waited longer because if you send the buses and they're not used, they're going to eat that cost, right? It's going to cut into their profits. They didn't send the buses. They didn't get there in time. People couldn't get evacuated. Would it have changed the trajectory of the thing? I doubt it, but it would have saved some people. And the point is that there are some jobs that the government does better because the value there is not measured in terms of actual sheer dollars.
It
is
right
measured
there.
in, essentially how much immiseration are you inhibiting people from suffering? And so yes, I agree that when it comes to auditing in the military, the worst government agency we have, because it's very easy, it's very hard to sort of like scrutinize the military. People don't like that. And it's also a huge power base of a lot of money. They make a ton of money out of this. I agree with that.
But same with
But if you
insurance.
look at
Same with
Medicare,
insurance.
Social
Same with-
Security, well, listen, the numbers don't lie. 3% administrative costs for Medicare.
Can I just make
So, what these suits and ties don't understand is a lot of these business owners, especially when, like I said it at the beginning of this video, when they make a large amount of money, which is, good job. I applaud that. You started a business from your garage or whatever the case is, and you made a lot of money for yourself. You made a lot of important decisions along the way, but your decision making kind of is based around making profit. You got to make smart decisions by, production labor, costs, overhead costs. Your job essentially is to make sure you come out at the end of the year or whatever, making a profit. Essentially, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a business owner, but I'm pretty sure that's the basics of it. Is to make some sort of profit, and then the next year try to make more and more and more. But when it comes to essential parts of living, just like Sam said, there's no profits. It can't be profit driven because then everything's going to go to hell with it. Essentially, just like healthcare, insulin, medicine, if it has a profit behind it, it's going to be not affordable to a lot of people. Even if it costs, it was like something that I've read a minute ago. It was like, $40-$30 that it took to make this insulin or whatever. But, insurance is selling it for $200-$300. Just like old boy's example, the military, the government is buying these pieces for, 100 times what it's worth because they're, not being understanding of what they're spending. Anything that has a profit behind it is going to have that effect. We can't have essential things, education, healthcare. We can't have profits being the end all be all when it comes to those things. That's why, in my opinion, is government needs to have that ability to where they got to get the money from somewhere. They're going to get it from our taxes. And the only reason why government is failing now is because we continue to elect people in these positions that are failing at their job, failing at being responsible with the money. So once we kind of tighten up as a society and start worrying about stupid social arguments and kind of get back on track and worried about what they're doing with our money, then I think it'd be a little bit more responsible. But right now they're doing whatever the hell they want because ain't nobody paying attention. Some people still worrying about Candace Owens is still worried about the Kardashians. Leave them alone. Nobody cares. Nobody who actually works a 9-to-5 job cares about that? You know what I'm saying? So we need a responsible government to do responsible things with the tax money. That's it. That's simple. That's simple. That answers all his questions.
I appreciate some of the points you're making. I do think that you're kind of conflating a couple different things. I think to Pat's question, whether the government is better at spending your money or whether the private markets or private companies are better, it's not even close. If private companies
ran
up
spending money, like to buy like soda, or to actually like just direct it in a way that keeps less people from suffering?
Okay, we have $31 trillion in debt right now. I think that's evidence enough, Sam, that we're not so good at spending money here in America.
It sounds like we're really good at spending money.
Well, we're not good at
managing. Better word, yeah.
Okay, there's a difference between being frugal and being smart with your money and just being wasteful. The government is clearly fucking wasteful. Where you are correct is that most retirees and most Americans do appreciate Social Security, do appreciate the entitlement programs that come with this country, whether it's Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, no doubt. But that doesn't mean the government is good at spending money. We're seeing that Social Security is about to go bankrupt.
The trust fund is going to be
the trust
insolvent
fund by 2023. And yes, I just had this conversation literally 2 days ago in D.C. where he kept using the word bankrupt, bankrupt, bankrupt. I said, what does that mean?
Who kept using that word?
This was
Which Republican used it?
It wasn't even a Republican. He was sort of a Social Security financial advisor, expertise type of guy. But I said, what do you keep saying bankrupt?
Everybody's an expert nowadays.
Retirees will not be receiving benefits? He goes, no, they'll probably be slashed by 25%. You use 20. So we can, cut the baby in half here. But how familiar are you with the three-legged stool of retirement?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so it used to be you had three avenues to retire. You had pensions, which do they even exist anymore for 90% of people?
More as a defined contribution than defined.
They're not very popular these days. I don't know how many people here have pensions. You have Social Security, which was never meant to be a retirement program. It was an insurance policy if you live too long, which basically Americans are now. Or you have your personal savings, which is the 401k. We can argue the merits of 401ks and Roth IRAs, what have you. But Social Security should not be keeping Americans afloat for 30 years of their life.
Well, that's a failure of the private industry, isn't it?
Why is it a failure of the private industry?
Well, I mean, Social Security is maintained. The idea that we're leaning on the government stool because the other two have failed. That's a function of the private industry.
Isn't that a function of just the average person understanding how money works and saving money, investing and doing it properly, versus the government or institution?
60% of the country lives paycheck to paycheck. How are they supposed to save this money?
Well, how are they spending their money, I guess, is the biggest question. How many people have credit card debt? How many people? You just said when you took out a mortgage, you said, I'm an actor. What was the rate? You're like, I don't fucking even know. You should know.
Well, I was making so much money that
I don't give a shit how much money you're making, Sam. You should know what your mortgage rate is.
But, I mean, I didn't remember what it was in 1998. But, I mean, I know what it is now. But, I mean, but I was making so much money, but I was making, I was in the top, I don't know if I was in the top 1% at that time, but probably pretty close.
So let me ask you a question.
And I was a single guy who had just gone from making, to $22,000 a year to all of a sudden making that
how much were you
making
in
a week.
So before they get on, Sam does make a good point. You know what I'm saying? Like he does make a good point. If pensions and 401ks is supposed to be superior and more likable and usable and have better results than Social Security, how come it's not working? Hey, come on now. Like, hey, he didn't answer it.
Now, how comfortable at that point would you have been paying 90% in taxes?
Sure.
So you actually want to pay 90% in taxes?
No. Let's be clear.
That?
I think it should be 90% over for the every dollar you make over $3 million.
Yeah.
That would not have impacted me at that time. But I would have been happy to pay more taxes.
But why would anyone?
You know why I'm laughing? Because it's always let's tax the people a little richer than me. It's always let's tax the guys
it was
that
a
are
lot richer.
Well,
But I'm just going back.
If you're saying 20,
I'm just going back
if you're
to
saying
what,
22 a week, you were making
looking,
$1,098,000. That's a lot of money.
No. Well, it wasn't 20.
You said 22 a week. That's $1 million a year.
No. That was the year before. I mean,
but you're making money. Let's just.
I was making a bunch of money. But I'm just going back to when we had the Great Compression, which was when we had the least wealth inequality in this country. Mm-hmm. We had the GDP.
So when I first heard that, it was like, okay, that does sound weird. Okay, like people are always advocating for the rich to actually pay more in taxes, but it's never them that's going to be taxed. I get it. But how many rich people are going to purposely say, you know what, I want to pay more? And there's actually a few people that do, that make more and they're in that higher tax bracket that do say, I wouldn't mind paying more. So it's not just the only people that advocate for higher taxes are always the one that never have to pay that higher taxes. You know what I'm saying? But if the rich people who have 101 ways to get out of paying those taxes, we need the government to force them to pay these taxes. And I mean, the wealth equality is only getting more ridiculous as years go on. So like something has to change, right? So give everybody more money and then you can take more money, essentially, if you want to do it that way.
Which was when we had the least wealth inequality in this country. Mm-hmm. We had the GDP was, consistent with where, on our trajectory, but it was spread out. It wasn't like this. Essentially, Rob, it was more spread out. It's called the Great Compression. And I'm just using that figure. I mean, look, if it's going to be 85% over 3 million or 85% over 4 million, I'm just basing it on what was the most successful economic era of this country.
Why not do 90% over $250,000?
I mean, if the numbers bear it out, I'm agnostic as that. Again, I'm just pegging it on when we had the most success in this country in terms of our economy.
I appreciate that you're pointing out the success, but right now the top marginal tax rate.
That's one thing. Is like, what does he want then? If he has an exact time period with exact numbers and statistics and all the data and analytics he wants to get all bricked up for, what more does he want? Because people like this, they always, I want the numbers. I want to look at the numbers with my suit and tie on. You have it right there. That's what they charge people making X amount of dollars. And it worked. What's so confusing about that? Oh, I appreciate you telling me a time period where it actually worked, but I still don't want to go for it. Come on. It seems like nothing that you offer them is ever going to be a solution, because once again, I don't know how much he makes, but if he makes that much, he wants to keep it to himself. If he doesn't make that much, he inspires to make that much one day. So therefore, he doesn't want to, attack that lifestyle, because he feels one day he's going to be living that. So his future self, he doesn't want to tax himself that much. So it's, just a bunch of greediness, essentially.
Federally is 37, 39. Okay, you do realize how shocking it is to say, all right, rather than go from 37 to 39, how about 40? How about 50?
How many?
You want to go to 90?
How many people do you assume? How many people do you assume would be touched by that tax? Would be implicated?
Top 1%. Look at this number right here. Share of total income taxes paid.
Less.
The top 1% in this country pay 42.3%. The bottom 50% only pay 2.3%. So 150 million people are paying nothing in taxes.
Right.
And you want to keep the 1% paying more and more and
I think
more
it's
and more?
actually even less than 1%.
That 1% owns way more wealth than the 90%. Of course they're going to pay more. But they're not paying equal to how much they're making. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, 10 millionaires or billionaires is going to pay more in taxes than 100 regular people. Obviously. But statistically looking at on how much Jeff Bezos makes a year compared to me, it should be a stark difference, but it's not. So I don't look. Go ahead and look it up. Look this up. I already did it. Hopefully I can remember to put that in this video while I'm editing. But look it up. It's come on, guys.
To be honest with you, I think we're talking about 0.05%.
Sure, but let's tax them even more.
Oh, I specifically want to make it illegal to be almost as wealthy as you. Not quite, but a little bit more. Like I want to make it not illegal. You're not going to go to jail.
So nobody can be no billionaires. No billionaires in America.
Absolutely.
Sam,
100%.
Why? Don't you want America to be known for greatness, for innovation, for capitalism, for all the amazing things that we've done in this country?
America is great because the top 1% owns more wealth than 99% of all the other Americans. What is it, like 5-10 Americans own more wealth than the rest of everybody, essentially? Like, come on, that's not great. That's not great.
My definition of
you want to
greatness-
go to like Nordic socialism.
My definition of greatness is different from yours.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here.
So let's go ahead and go to the big screen here. So essentially what I got out of this debate was I would rather trust the government, the entity, not the actual people, because like I said, we actually need to have qualified people in these positions. We can't just vote willy-nilly because he said this smart remark about Democrats and this Democrat is kissing butt to black people. Like, we need to actually vote for people who are competent in their position, and when it comes to them managing the money, they can actually do it properly. I would rather trust the entity, the structure of the government than a business owner anytime. Because a business owner, their only mindset is profit. They don't care about their workers. They don't care about their community. They don't care about the environment. They just care about their profits and stockholders. That's it. Why would you trust that person to give back to their community properly? Not just like, oh, here's $10,000. Try to make it work. No, that's not gonna work. Those simple little, droplets, drop of water in a big old bucket type charities doesn't work. We need an institution that can collect money from everybody who's an American to spread out that money in places into individuals that need it. And in this example, Social Security, when you're 70 years old, 75, like, what are you really going to be contributing in your community when you're working, when you're 70, 75, 80 years old? What are you going to be doing? A greeter at Walmart, just sitting on the chair, in front of the door when it's cold and hot as hell outside, just saying hello to people? Come on, get these people out the way, and the government should be taking care of them. That's simple. So, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Let's have that conversation.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people. power to the pod.